Wow. The Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Rod Blagojevich is free. Call me at 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. I want to know what you think about it. What do you think about it? It was like a bolt out of the blue yesterday, right? President Trump freed Rod Blagojevich. Well, I don't know what to make heads or tails. I don't know how to make heads or tails of it because it is a big political moment, right? It really, really, really is. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it on the Santita Jackson Show. 773-763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. And of course, you can join us on Santita Jackson and Friends over on the Facebook page. Please like and share, like and share. And on YouTube on the Santita Jackson Show page. Thank you so much for the water because I absolutely need it. The Santita Jackson Show page. Please like and subscribe. You all are calling in, so keep calling in because we want to talk about this today. What is behind this? You know, President Trump has been talking about freeing or commuting the sentence of Governor Rod Blagojevich for 2 years. For 2 years. And it finally happened. To fully disclose, I know that was something that Reverend Jesse Jackson and former Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. supported. They wrote letters in support. And in fact, spoke with the president about it, about commuting his sentence. We felt that it was so unfair and so lengthy. So, what do you think about it? And what do you think will be the political implications? A lot of people are feeling some kind of way about this. A lot of people support the commutation of his sentence. I know I do. And then a lot of people said that he committed a crime, which he did not do, everybody. Before he could commit a crime, that is to say, he was going to sign over a seat, because unlike when you vacate a seat in the House of Representatives, you have to have a special election. When a seat is vacated in the U.S. Senate, the governor chooses the person that they want to fill the seat. That's how that works. So they raided his home in the early in the morning while his wife and baby daughters were there and dragged him out of bed. I mean, really? Where was he going? He was the governor of Illinois. The whole thing was just so awful. So I want to know what you think about it. What do you think about it? What do you think about it? I mean, do you think it was a good thing? Do you think it was a bad thing? I'm trying to stop coughing here. So, you know what? Let me go to Roosevelt. What's on your mind, Roosevelt?
Know that Trump doesn't do anything without getting something back. Remember the famous dinner he had with Comey where he says, I demand loyalty? So something is that Rod's going to do something for Trump.
But do you think he's really that different from other politicians? I mean, because politics, quite frankly, Roosevelt, whether it's President Trump or anyone, it's quid pro quo. It really is. You're trading off favors. I'm not saying I'm just saying that's how it works.
If I may, doesn't this set up, isn't it a coincidence that only last week Trump said that it was awful the fact that his buddy, longtime friend, Roger Stone, was going to be sentenced for 7 or 9 years? So doesn't this set up the table to do the same thing for Manafort, Rogers?
Of course it does. And you know what? You know what presidents do? Yes. And you know what they do when they're leaving office, Roosevelt? On the day that they leave office, they start pardoning people. I mean, no. I'm just saying, look, I hear you and I understand people don't like President Trump for their own reasons. I get it. I'm just saying, let us be very clear that this is how the game works. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, and if you don't want this to happen again, then you know what? When you vacate a seat in the House of Representatives and in the U.S. Senate, then have a special election. You could avoid this if you do that, because in the House of Representatives you have to have an election in the People's House. But when you vacate a seat in the Senate, U.S. Senate, the government has an appointment. So if you want to avoid this, change the system. And that's all I'm saying, Roosevelt. I mean, let's just be fair about it, okay? And you don't arrest someone before they've committed a crime. Are you kidding me? What is that? That means, well, I mean, pre-crime is going to endanger all of us. You said you were you didn't do anything yet. You said you're going to do a lot of things.
Santita. But here's the difference. When it's a Democrat doing it, it's a double standard. When it's a Democrat doing it, they wind up in jail. Whatever happened to Aaron? Remember Aaron, the Republican senator, was spending all that money?
Aaron Schock, who, look, my brother went to prison, and this guy has had the slate wiped clean. And you know what? No. And my point, we're on the same page. We're just not speaking the same words, okay? And what I'm saying to you, it's all unfair. And I don't care if it's my brother, my sister, or someone who I do not like. Don't treat people unfairly. Period. That's all I'm saying. And I don't care whether it's a Democrat, because there's some Republicans who got jammed. Can you say Governor Ryan? Governor Ryan said, I'm not going to kill anybody else because this death row does not work. We're killing innocent people. I was living in New York at the time. I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone as that press conference was being played all over the world because it was such a huge moment. And you know what happened? We all said, several of us ended up conferencing in. They said, this white man is going to pay for freeing all these, for saving the lives of all these people. He is going to jail. And he did do that. So I'm saying to you, it's a little deeper than parties. It's about people no, Roosevelt, I got to run to a couple of other people because we've been talking for about 5 minutes now. I love you. I love you, love you, love you. So your final thought, 30 seconds. You got it.
Put the feet to the fire to other Democrats that are corrupt, and the Republicans don't do that. That's all I got to say.
Okay. I hear you. I just don't think the Democrats are angels and Republicans are devils. I think you got a lot of mess in the system, and I think we've got to figure out where the mess is and get it right. So call me at 773-763-WCPT, 773-763-9278 as I bring on attorney C.K. Hoffler, president-elect of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest black bar association in the world, 65,000 plus lawyers, and Cliff Kelly. He's one of the writers of the Constitution for the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
I mean, we see him as this great talk show host, an icon really in all of radio. But he's also a lawyer. He's been on the city council. He really understands politics unlike anybody else. So as I bring him on, I just want you to know tonight we're going to be looking at this debate. Go to the Santita Jackson and Friends page. We're going to figure out how to do that tonight because I want to get some feedback from you all in real time. They are saying that the gloves will be off according to these headlines. The gloves will be off tonight. What do you think is going to happen at the debate? Michael Bloomberg will be in the debate because he had placed at 19% in the Marist poll.
Yeah.
He is in the debate. So I wonder, how is he? Is he going to take incoming fire, or will his Democratic opponents stand down? We don't know what they're going to do. Of course, top of the morning to everybody. Governor Rod Blagojevich and Mike Milken. Mike Milken was pardoned. Governor Blagojevich had his sentence commuted. I mean, he got a lot of people. He cleared the deck for a lot of people yesterday, and some people are saying, as Roosevelt said, that perhaps this clears the deck for Roger Stone. It's his friend. That's his prerogative. Whether you agree with it or not, then change the system if you don't like it. Because presidents, on the last day that they're in office, they're busy as they're walking out the door signing commutations and pardons. That is what they do. Y'all, that is how this works. But this is very, very interesting. The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers has called on, they announced that they were endorsing Joe Biden for president. It was his biggest union endorsement. And more than 1,200 members are now calling on union leadership to retract that endorsement. Can you believe that? That is huge, huge. And of course, the controversies on race and gender keep coming for Michael Bloomberg. He said, I like theater, dining, and chasing women. Okay. Why is that controversial? He's a man and he's a billionaire. Next. I'm sorry. That's
Mm,
let's get with real. I want to know how he pays women, how he
mhm,
promotes women, and if women are vulnerable, if they are in a hostile workplace,
mhm.
women, people of color, anyone who is just anyone. I want to know what kind of work environment he creates. That's what I want to know. And on Wednesday, not even 2 full months into 2020, according to this Common Dreams report, millionaires will stop paying into Social Security for the year due to the program's payroll tax cap. Can you believe that? Now, that's
Mm-mm.
not in the news today. But you know, Santita Jackson would find it for you. And of course, I keep going back to the study. Medicare for All would save $450 billion and 68,000 lives, everybody. And did you know the Walmart workers stood outside of Alice Walton's penthouse protesting?
Yay.
Oh, it's just too much. It's too much going on in the world today, everybody. So, of course, our Blackhawks will be playing the Rangers tonight, and our Bulls are off for a few days. You know, it's that All-Star break. The Dow was down 165 points yesterday. The S&P was down 9. Nasdaq closed at a record level, and they were up 1 point. So in today's weather, mostly high 30s, everybody. But it's cold outside right
Yes.
now. So what happened with Rod Blagojevich? Why was he freed? What was the political payoff? What do you think? And of course, in the next hour, we're going to be talking with about this and with Professor Robert McChesney about whether Bloomberg should really be running as a Republican or not. But first up, everybody wants to talk about Rod Blagojevich. Welcome to the show, Attorney C.K. Hoffler and Cliff Kelly. How are you this morning?
Fine. I'm fine. Good morning, Santita.
Thank you. I've stopped coughing, so I can speak now.
It's such a pleasure to be on with you.
Oh, always, always a joy. Well, you know what? Let me start off with you, Cliff Kelly, because you know Chicago politics and Illinois politics, national and international politics. But this has really become like a big national story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is this? Why?
Well, I think it's because of the fact that the governor, I'm talking about Blagojevich, obviously, was such a liked person. He did a lot of things for a lot of people. Of course, what they charged him with trying to do something for somebody is what put him away. But he was just a great guy. Everybody loved him, and he did a lot of things. And he was just looked on as the person that everybody liked. His family liked him. The people around his house, they always were on his porch. Remember all those pictures? The TV cameras were always there. I knew him pretty well. Also, I just loved talking to him, and he was great. A lot of folks think that he really should not have gone to jail. That's obviously not even a question now. But the fact is, I'm glad he was released. I am.
Why are you glad that he was released? Why are you glad that his sentence was commuted? He was supposed to have been serving until 2024. Unbelievable.
Well, I was one of the people that disagreed with that sentence. I thought it was ridiculous. So therefore, obviously, I'm pleased that that was commuted. And then I'm thinking of his family. He's got a great family. I tell you who really, and a lot of people will be surprised at this. Well, not really, but I'll tell you some people who I'm sure are not pleased that he's gone are the folks he was serving with, because I'm sure he was doing a lot of things, teaching classes, doing all kinds of things while he was in prison. That's the kind of person he was, or is, I should say.
Well, you know what? When we come back, I want you to talk. Let's speak to that. Let's speak to let's speak to what all this means politically, because I think this is a really, really big, big, big political moment, and what he might be talking about when he gets out. Because there was a lot. I mean, because I think now he will have the opportunity to explain what happened on that day that he was arrested and what happened leading up to it, because we really haven't heard. I think that we're going to hear now. More of the Santita Jackson show. Let's talk about the commutation of the sentence of Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich. Will he run again? What will all of this mean? Let's talk about it on the Santita Jackson show. on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Back in just a minute.
Where facts matter.
Hey, 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 everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Call us at 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. And you can also text us on that line, GWC Injury Lawyers. Thank you so much for that. You can text us on that line as well. And we want you to meet me on Santita Jackson and Friends on Facebook. Like and share, everybody. And like and subscribe to me over on YouTube on the Santita Jackson Show, talking with Cliff Kelly, the legendary Cliff Kelly, about Rod Blagojevich. Governor Rod Blagojevich had his sentence commuted. He was supposed to be serving until 2024, but now he is out President Trump pardoned and commuted the sentences of various people yesterday. Well, he commuted his sentence, but Bernard Carrick got a pardon, Mike Milken got a pardon, and several other people got pardons. So, what are we to make of all of this? You know, Cliff Kelly, I wanted you to finish your thought before I go to Attorney C.K. Hoffler.
I think that one thing, when you have someone like the governor in prison, he's there helping a lot of people. I mean, if you knew him, if you know him and what he did, a very outward disposition, very intelligent, and always willing to help people. That was one of the things that so many people liked about him. He was just a great guy, and then, of course, the family and so forth. I was at a luncheon yesterday, a working luncheon, and got 3 calls on my phone during the luncheon as soon as it was announced. These were people who were calling me because they knew I'd want to know it. But, when I did a show, he was on quite. And politically, the guy, he did some good things. So I don't see anything wrong with this. I really don't.
Well, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, what did you make of the sentencing? What did you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, good morning, Santita and other panelists, and thank you so much for providing a forum for us to talk about this. So what do I think? This is a president's prerogative. This is one area where, President Clinton pardons Susan McDougal, right? Commuting the sentence and pardoning people is what presidents do. And what they're allowed to do, and that's what this country allows them to do. I think that our president announced that he was going to do this some time ago. And but I think what is really very interesting is that he is pardoned someone who is a big-time Democrat. And someone who was, as you all have said, now I didn't know him personally, probably met him a couple times, but someone who was beloved by many. And that is what I think is very interesting in all of this. That he did it, it was his right to do it. I may have a few things to say about our president every day, but this is one of the things that, it's his prerogative. It's every president's prerogative. So there's always commentary on who is pardoning. For example, Michael Milken, I might have a few words to say about that. But this is very, very interesting because this is going to get some folks who are Democrats, they're going to soften behind this. But I might add, if the president wants to really make a mark, there are a number of African-American politicians. Santita, you said it best, your brother did serve. So the timing perhaps wasn't right on that. But there are a number of African-American politicians in jail right now. So if you're thinking of commuting sentences...
Kwame Kilpatrick. Free Kwame. Free Kwame.
Right. And I just have to disclose, I in a civil matter, I did represent Kwame Kilpatrick and do.
Yeah, okay.
So I just have to disclose that in all fairness. But there are many, many people that are in jail who are, who perhaps shouldn't be in jail, some would say. And if the president really, really wants to make a strong political statement, as this is, and if he really does want to say, look, I'm for the people, if he wants to say that, then there should be black and brown people who are sitting in jail for some of the same reasons, or for whatever reason, that whose sentences should be commuted as well, or there are people who are out of jail who should be pardoned.
Look, I agree with that. A broken clock can be right twice a day. But I think you make the point, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, our president-elect of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest black bar association in the world, representing more than 65,000 lawyers. This is a president's prerogative, and he or she, in the future, they make these decisions for a variety of reasons. Now, if you don't like it, change the system. Don't hate the player, hate the game. This is the way this works. I'm just wondering as we go to the callers, politically, what is the advantage, and where do you think Governor Blagojevich goes from here? I mean, he still looks like a very, he's a resilient guy. He's a youthful guy. I think that he's got a lot more to give, a lot more to give. Where do you think he should go from here? First you, Cliff, and then you, Attorney Hoffler.
Yeah, I was told, which is why I made that comment, Santita and Consular, that he was doing all kinds of things while in prison, helping prisoners, helping people to understand the system, helping people with history, doing all kinds of things, which I don't doubt at all. I had the opportunity to get to know him pretty well. I liked him. I think he did a lot of good things. I think he was very intelligent. Some of the foreign issues that he took on, I like that too. So I think that I don't think anything bad is going to come of this. I think that it's going to look good for the president for doing it in the long run. I really think that's what's going to happen.
Attorney Hoffler?
I agree. I think it's kind of looked good. I mean, the fact that, I'm talking about it, and other Democrats are talking about it, and talking about it as something that is really interesting and a good move, I think is exactly what it was designed to accomplish. That's firstly. But secondly, if he really wants to have some interesting dialogue, he needs to dig deeper, and he may very well be doing that, and make some other pardons that would cause Democrats to really pause, because everything, Santita, as you said before, in politics is a quid pro quo. So what the governor does now, I don't see him changing parties. I don't know. But what he does now could be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting, because he's someone who a lot of people love, a lot of people respect. He's someone who a lot of people do not like as well. He's got his detractors. But he is someone who, in the Democratic Party, at some point, he had a lot of love. So this is really, really interesting if we look at it in the context of this election and what this president is doing. Because he's going to pardon more people. But he chose to pardon him at this time, at this moment, and he is the headline. Michael Milk and everybody else is not the headline. He's the headline, and that's for a reason.
It's going to be interesting.
It's his prerogative. I am not going to be one to say or to criticize someone for strategic planning in politics. And this, I can't say any other move that I thought of, but this was a good strategic move. As difficult as it is to say, and it's very difficult. It's very difficult. We're ventilating right now. But this is, we got to call it how we see it. That's what that's what you want on your show. And I have yet in the entire time he's been president to say anything about a good strategic move. But this is one where, that doesn't mean I will vote for him, but it just means that this is something that's going to give people some type of pause. At a minimum in Illinois, but I think in terms of the dialogue. So as we go back to where the Democratic Party is, and the debates coming up and everything, the candidates have to bring it. There is no time for wishy-washy indecisiveness. They have to bring it to beat this president. There's just no question about that. And this is an example of why and how they must bring it if we want change.
Well, and I'm going to tell you this before we get to the callers. One of the things that we should see at this, take note of this fact. Donald Trump has been a Democrat, he's been a Republican, he's been an independent, and Michael Bloomberg has been the same. These folks have the space and the freedom and the liberty to move between parties to achieve an end. The parties are a means for them. They're not the end. And I think we need to be very, very clear on that. Think back to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's father voting for who was a Lincoln Republican. He voted for a Democrat when the Kennedys came to save his son's life when he was imprisoned in Alabama, because he was facing an almost certain death. The Dr. King we know today is not the Dr. King who was living 50, 60 years ago. Open season on him. So I think, Cliff Kelly, before I go to the callers, you were trying to get in, but Attorney C.K. Hoffler was making such great points.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
No.
No, the consular was right on point. As I mentioned earlier, Santita, I was at a meeting, a luncheon meeting at the time, and I got three calls immediately when it was announced. And the thing that we were meeting for wasn't important anymore. Everybody at the table was talking about exactly what we're talking about right now. So the issue is very important, and it's going. We're going to see a lot more.
Oh, I
Um,
think so. I think so, particularly with the Kushners.
yeah,
You know, well, Jared Kushner's father went to jail. He felt that he was unfairly, that he was railroaded by Chris Christie, and so he says, you know what? And remember, they were a big Democratic Party too. Again, I just think everybody, while we continue to look at these partisan politics, people at a certain level don't see it that way. They use a party to achieve their end. The party is not the end for them. It is an end. It is a means. It is a means. Let me go to some of these callers. Mark, what's on your mind today, Mark?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I think that it's a great deal, a good thing that the governor's home. I have actually said to other folks who have had public statements that of the contrary to caution them. You know, and I'll give you one quick story. When in 2007, when we as Black LGBTQ folks were just organizing, one of the things that happened in Chicago is that there was a rash of reports of Black LGBTQ youth as being problematic on the north side and causing trouble and all of this sort of thing. Governor Blagojevich announced that year for 1,000 summer jobs. I met with someone you know, Deputy Governor Lorana Peters, and the governor, and said, if you give me 100 jobs, I will handle the problem that's going on up north. Sure enough, they gave me the 100 jobs. It was 100 jobs for Black LGBTQ youth and their allies. And the number of incidents went down because folks weren't hanging out up north. They had a job to go to. And so I'll never forget that. And I was never asked for anything. Our organization, the Coalition for Justice and Respect, was the only Black LGBTQ organization that through Blagojevich's administration had a line item. We had a line item. And no other governor since or before had done anything like that. I mean, he went around the political obstacles that were placed by Michael Madigan and the other traditional Democratic Party people, political folks in Springfield. His administration was always smart enough to go around them to get the objective done. So all I'm saying is that, folks, this is the Easter season, and this is the time to know that you can be convicted and not be guilty. I think that is a message that we need to carry on. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see him and thank him, and also warn. Remember this: this man was a twice elected governor, re-elected. If he had ran a third time, if he was to run today, I bet you he would win.
Well, we'll see what's next. Thank you, Mark.
wow, wow.
Well, come on. Why don't you all respond?
But there was this expression people just say, you ain't never lied. I know that's probably not radio. I just want to throw that in there. I remember because I was a law student in D.C. when Mary Berry was there.
Mm.
And we all know that Mary Berry was publicly had a little issue or two, and he ended up going to jail. He was very popular. He could have run for just about anything from jail.
Hey, I would have voted for him. I had just left DC. We were in DC together, CK. And you know what? I said the night he was arrested, one of my dear friends was in his cabinet, and she called me devastated because she said, I need you to know what has happened. He's been arrested. It's about to hit the news. Find your father. So I said, okay. And I just said very calmly, while she was like in the throes of grief, she was Rosa Whitaker. She was the youngest member of his cabinet. She had been working with him since she had been 13, because he found he would find young black talent and cultivate them. And she ended up becoming the U.S. trade rep for Africa and working in the White House. She had to go to White House briefings every day. That's who he started her. I said, girl, don't worry about it. He's going to be reelected as soon as he gets out of jail. I said, because they got to send him to prison. Joe DeGeneva, who was still, who was the U.S. attorney. I said, he's been after him. He just retired, so he got him. I said, but that's okay. He's going to be more popular than ever. I said, he's going to come out bigger than ever. Did he not, CK?
Yep. Yep.
Mic
And he
drop.
will go down. Honestly, I mean, I was in that zone, in that wave, like many of us were. You were there too, Santita, where he helped so many African American professionals, lawyers, doctors, business people.
Wait a minute. Created BET, CK. He had a little channel that he could have given to anyone, but he wanted to give it to the hometown guy, Bob Johnson. Remember that?
Yep, I remember. And there are, for every Bob Johnson, there's a Bob Washington.
Absolutely.
There's all these other people who were titans at that time in D.C. politics, D.C. business community, and all that. And that was because Marion Barry gave them a chance. There were many, many mayors at that time that did that as well. We know them. Mm-hmm. But I say that because people coming from jail, we got to be real careful when they're very, very, by what we say about it, because when there's nothing more endearing, I believe, to people as when someone is people believe wrongfully accused, serve some time and come out, whether the sentence is commuted or not. Because at that point, they're in a position where they could possibly make a greater impact on society than before they went in. Because people are very forgiving of I believe. We are, especially African Americans, but we are a very, very forgiving nation of certain things. And as I said, I think in this space and in this place, it's going to be very interesting to see who else is pardoned.
I cannot wait to see. I cannot wait to see. Because if he's showing flaws in the system, and President Trump is doing that, and so that doesn't make me vote for him. No, before you all call me on that, no. But you know what? A broken clock can be right twice a day. I said that a little earlier. I just want whoever gets into, girl, come on. Whoever becomes president, I just want you to work it out. Work it out. I'm not going to leave America because the person I voted for didn't win. That's crazy. So let's work this out. Let me go to you, Verlon. Oh my goodness, what is Verlon going to say today? I have no idea. Verlon.
Well, how you doing? How you doing to your guests?
You got me holding on to the cross. Go on, Verlon.
This man has done more time than a Governor Ryan, who by his actions led to the death of 6 children and 2 parents being burned from head to toe and actually made money from the Secretary of State. This man has done more time than a former police commander, John Burge, that electrocuted young men's gonads, and they lost 20 to 30 years of their life behind bars, and he did about 5 years in jail. President Obama commuted the sentence of a traitor, Brackety Manning, who you don't know who could have been in danger by the information that he leaked from WikiLeaks that's traitors to our country, to whoever that he gave it to. And Obama traded 6 terrorists that returned to the battlefield for a coward, what's his name, Bird Dog, that I consider a traitor, a deserter. And you don't know how many people's lives could have been lost on the battlefield. So in comparison to these people, what Trump did was glorious to me. And, I'm glad what Trump did, because this man actually didn't get any money from anybody, and I don't believe anybody was in danger by what Blanco tried to do. So I'm proud of my president right now, reaching across the aisle and extending this olive branch.
Oh, well, I'm not mad at you, Verlon. Thank you. I can't believe, like I said, a broken clock can be right twice a day. I'm actually agreeing with Verlon for the most part. There you go. Let me go to Anita from South Carolina. Anita. Hey, Anita, what's on your mind today? Calling us from North Carolina.
Okay. I think this was all around the time that your daughter-in-law was running from trying to run for mayor.
No, my sister, my former sister-in-law, right?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Right. Look, I'm Miss Jackson, not Mrs. Right?
Okay, and Obama was going to become president, and Rahm Emanuel is the person that I'm watching at this time because I'm like, okay, Mayor Daley's kicked out, Miss Jackson is kicked out for running for the mayor, and Rahm Emanuel was following Obama to the White House, and he's chief of staff. Then all of a sudden, the mayor office that your sister-in-law was running.
Well, no, actually, wait a minute. Let's back up. Let's back up because actually, Congressman Jackson at that time was placing number one in the polls to become mayor. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
He was. They said that he could leave Congress and become mayor, and that he was the biggest threat to the party establishment at that time.
I thought his wife was trying to run too at some point. But anyway, I know the mayor's seat was up and the Jacksons were definitely being considered. And I'm like, well, why is Rahm Emanuel leaving and being endorsed by Obama and then his kids are being shot 16 times in the back? But Blagojevich and Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. are all of a sudden kicked out of office while Rahm Emanuel's getting away with everything. And this is a real funny part about all of it is President Trump is supposed to be a German Nazi, but Rahm Emanuel is Jewish and he can shoot a black boy in the back 16 times, and kick Mayor Daley out and all these things that's going on. So I really wonder, is this for war money for the people from Israel? I mean, are they trying to put their people in position in our country to take the money from the black community?
Well, I really, I think we have to be very, very careful. I hear you, Anita, but I don't think that's it. I think that in the game of politics, it is combat. This is not a game for kids. This is it is what it is. It's a very, very tough business. And I can tell you when I look at my brother, I know it was very hard for him because my brother, attorney C.K. Hoffler, who has been my brother's counsel, and she's really family counsel for all of us. Wonderful, wonderful, brilliant lawyer. I always felt that my brother was just a little gentle for this for the sport of politics because he loved seminary. He loves going fishing in the morning and all of that. And this was just a really tough, tough business for him. But you know what? It is what it is, right? And so, and it is what it is. And when you get in it, it can get tough. And you know what? You can go to jail, particularly if you're a black politician. The studies show that, Cliff Kelly. The
Mm-hmm.
fastest way for a black person to go to jail, all aside from being born, is to go into politics. And because
Mm-hmm.
for Kwame Kilpatrick, the former mayor of Detroit, to be in jail on foolishness at the height of his power, someone as talented and as brilliant as he is, for him to be just sitting in jail, shame on them. And when they took Kwame out, they took out his mother, who had been head of the Black Caucus. His father was a very, very highly elected, a really, really highly regarded elected official in Detroit. I mean, this was a political dynasty, and they took them all out. I've got about. Can you all just give me some closing remarks just after the top of the hour? Okay, just stay right there because we're going to be talking about Bloomberg and whether he should be running as a Republican. Dr. Robert McChesney, who co-created Free Press, is going to be talking with us about that, about all the money, all the money. You remember how Tom Perez and the DNC changed the rules to allow Bloomberg in the debates, but they wouldn't create the same space for Julian Castro and Cory Booker. I mean, there's just a lot going on here, and we have to talk about it. As Michael Bloomberg is going to be in the debates tonight, how do you think he's going to do, everybody? I mean, he's like at 19%. He is moving up in the polls, and guess what? He has not been asked. I mean, he's just getting asked some questions now, but he's just rising on the strength of some ad buys. Let's talk about that, everybody, on the Santita Jackson Show on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Blagojevich is free. What does that mean? What's next for him? Back in just a minute.
Wake up, Chicago. This is the Santita Jackson Show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show. We're getting some closing remarks from attorney C.K. Hoffler, President-elect of the National Bar Association, which is the largest black bar association in the world, 65,000 plus lawyers. And, of course, Cliff Kelly, who helped to write the state constitution for the state of Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
You know, among other things, lawyer, brilliant city councilman. He has done so much, and of course, he's an icon of radio.
Mm-hmm.
But behind the reason he got on radio is because he has so much information. And we've been talking about, of course, Governor Rod Blagojevich, whose sentence was commuted yesterday, and thankfully he is now home with his wife and family and his loved ones, and we all want to know what he's going to do next. So, what do you think? 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. And tonight we're going to be looking at the debate. We will be looking at it together on the Santita Jackson and Friends page. We're going to be weighing in in real time, shall I say? What do you think is going to happen tonight? Mike Bloomberg makes his debut tonight. What will that look like? Will his Democratic opponents come in on him, or will they give him space? Dr. Robert McChesney from the University of Illinois, a brilliant media analyst and media critic, who is one of the co-creators of Free Press, their media watchdog organization. He said, he should have run as a Republican.
Yeah.
He's really disrupting Democratic politics. And he's disrupting Democratic politics with all of these hundreds of millions of dollars that he has spent already, more than $300 million in ad buys that propelled him into the top tier of the presidential conversation and in the polls, too. They say the gloves will be off in the Nevada debate tonight. And, of course, they have started voting in Nevada. And so we're going to be talking about that with Dr. Robert McChesney in just a few minutes. But I wanted to get some closing thoughts as we look at these Nevada debates, as this is the first day that millionaires will stop paying into Social Security for the year because of the payroll tax cap. Wow. I mean, there's just so much going on right now. President Trump pardoned Michael Milken and Bernard Kerik, and most notably, former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, who remains very, very popular in many quarters. What's next for him? What is next for him? And what is going to happen tonight at that debate? I'm going to have to go get me some Garrett's popcorn. Yes, free ad, because I love them. More cheese than the caramel. So that's what I want. The Rangers, of course, are going to be playing our Blackhawks tonight. The Dow closed down 165 points yesterday. The S&P closed down 9 points. NASDAQ closed at a record high. They were only up a point, though. And so, before we bring on Dr. Robert McChesney to talk about Bloomberg and all that he means, I wanted to get some closing thoughts from attorney C.K. Hoffler and Cliff Kelly. First, you, attorney C.K. Hoffler, what is our takeaway from this moment? Because you know what, I had forgotten. You and I did live through Marion Barry, and boy, he rose like a phoenix, and then he had basically a state funeral in Washington. I mean, they had to go to the convention center because that's just how popular he remained until his death.
Absolutely. Well, my takeaway is that I think we have to look at this very carefully. I think this is certainly, again, the president's prerogative, but in terms of the governor, what comes next for him, I think the sky is probably going to be the limit because I think there are people, whether they liked him or didn't like him, he did serve a good period of time in jail. And there's a lot of people that feel some kind of way about that in terms of the length of time, his sentence. So I think this was a very strong strategic move for our president, commuting the sentence of a beloved, in some circles, Democrat in a state that is going to be important for this election. And he has the right and the prerogative to do that. And so I think we have to look at that carefully. And there are others in the pipeline, I can imagine, or should be in the pipeline, who could also play into his strategic moves politically, because it boils down to perhaps doing the right thing, and that's how people will perceive it. And when during election season, when you take such a bold move, and some people perceive it as doing the right thing, such as the caller, he thought it was a great thing. He thought it was a great day for the president. That's probably, I don't know that caller, but I would dare say he probably
rarely says anything favorable about our president. And that's the point. That's the dialogue. I think the Democratic Party needs to get itself together, and I hope that the debate will reflect that we have a strong leader in the party who is prepared to do business and who is addressing the right issues, in addition to a lot of other issues plaguing the country. Equal pay, this stop and frisk, kill and policy, stop and frisk, beat and kill. A lot of issues need to be addressed, and we need to hold the candidates' feet to the fire, because we need to, if people believe there needs to be a change, and we've got people who are emerging, whether it's because they have a lot of money or whatever, as front-runner candidates, we need to hold their feet to the fire.
Cliff Kelly?
There's something that was mentioned yesterday as soon as we found out about what's going on. There is some property, real estate, adjacent to former Senator Obama's house that a lot of people will be talking about at some time, probably. I don't have time to go into that now, but it's going to be very interesting. One of the things I'd like to do, I like to go back to school and turn out how to be an agent for people who have unbelievable abilities of singing. I'm talking about Santita Jackson. I don't know whether you hear me, but I always talk about. I said, I have to say it every time. If you haven't heard this wonderful lady, yes, she's intelligent, she's gorgeous, but singing, you have never heard anybody sing as well as this lady does. Santita, love you.
I love you. I love you both. I just got a text from 3 of my former singing partners today. Can you believe it? This morning. So, okay, so you are from your mouth to God's ear, or from God's mouth to your ear. How about that? I love you all. But thank you for your insights. And Cliff Kelly, we're going to have you back, because we do want to tease this out, because I think, and you too, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, because I want to hear what's happening with Kwame Kilpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about that,
Yes.
because I think that we have the power to make the commutation and a pardon for Kwame Kilpatrick an issue. And I think that we should. And you know what? If Trump can do it, President Trump can do it, all to the good. He's the president. He has the power. Why not? I'm not abandoning America because someone I did not vote for is the president. I'm just not going to do that. Okay? So that's that. I love you both. And thank you so much for your insightful analysis.
Love you too. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Love you. Everybody, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this debate tonight. I cannot wait to see it. I don't know about you, but I was gobsmacked when I found out that Michael Bloomberg made the debate. I said, well, wow, it worked. This more than $300 million in media buys. Most notably, a commercial that we see with him with President Obama. It just looks, many people would remember when we were, let's talk about it with Santita Jackson and friends on Monday night. Mm-hmm. One of our panelists said, I saw the commercial and I said, well, I'm going to vote for him because I think that Obama is going to vote for him. So there's a lot going on. He's at 19% in the NPR Marist poll. And yet, he's really been a Republican. Moderate Republican, but a Republican. And yet he's in the Democratic lane. So, Bernie Sanders said, you are not going to buy this election. Amy Klobuchar said, look, it's unfair. For those of us who've been running for a month, maybe a couple of years, we've been out here talking to people, pushing, and we have had to fight our way up through the polls. And this man has been able to pour his money into the system and just rise through the polls. So, and even has a media organization that he kind of had stand down. So, you know what? I said, look, let me go to someone far brighter than I, someone who really understands what's going on here. Dr. Robert McChesney, I am so glad to have you with us today. Had to get you up and move you around, because the former governor of our state has had his sentence commuted. But you do not, this is a brilliant man. You got to get his book, The Dollarocracy. how the money and media election complex is destroying America. And we have already posted your piece from Common Dreams. If Bloomberg wants to buy an election, he should run as a Republican against Trump, not sabotage the Democrats. Welcome to the show, Dr. McChesney. How are you?
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, this is a very, very provocative headline on your essay. If Bloomberg wants to buy an election, he should run as a Republican against Trump, not sabotage the Democrats. Please explain.
Well, there's three parts to it. First of all, he's buying an election. There's no other way to put it. He is spending obscene amounts of money to win an election. And, just to put it in context for your listeners, because I think his wealth is so incredible, it's almost impossible for anyone to grasp. If you think about it, he's worth, depending on where the stock market ends at any day, he's worth around $60 or $65 billion, making one of the 10 richest people on the planet. And so what that means, Santita, is that he could spend, between now and Election Day, he could basically spend $1 billion a week, and he would still, on Election Day, be worth something like $25 billion, be one of the 40 wealthiest people in the world. So we're talking about someone whose money means nothing to him. He's 77, he could spend all that money, and he still would be so spectacularly wealthy he would have no idea how to spend his money. So this is like basically you or I spending a penny a day for the next, when he spends $1 billion.
Speak for yourself. I'm counting my pennies. I have piggy banks. Now, maybe a penny a week for me.
It's not even a penny a day because, again, at the end of the period, he's still one of the 40 richest people in the universe. I mean, it's extraordinary the wealth. So he's spending this money, and is he buying the election? Well, let's imagine he didn't have $65 billion. Let's say he was worth $1 million, like a professional would be after a long career, his pension and everything. He's got a net worth of $1 million, like probably most other politicians at that point. And he was running for office. Would he have any hope of getting the Democratic nomination? The answer is no. He'd be laughed off the stage. He has a record, as I suspect your show has chronicled, that is, you call it moderate Republican. It's moderate in some ways, but it's very not moderate in other ways. He's a big supporter of the Iraq War. He supported George W. Bush. His policies in New York City towards Muslim Americans were police state. I mean, he spied on them routinely never came up with anything, but he was, doing stuff that we associate with communist regimes to their private citizens just for being Muslim. And then, of course, most infamously, his stop and frisk policy was an explicitly racist policy. He admits it and defends it for being racist. That made young black men and brown men in New York City subject to basically stops and frisk and harassment for no reason other than the color of their skin. So this guy would be laughed off the stage, but he's worth $60 billion, so he's in a position to pay people off, buy people, buy an extraordinary amounts of advertising, and buy the Democratic Party so he gets on the debate stage. So that's what we're dealing with. So he's clearly buying the election. He's not winning it in anything remotely close to a fair fight or competitive fight. He's refused to have any dealings with the public except for his TV ads pretty much until this week. It's the first time he's almost reluctantly going on the stage tonight.
But what do you... Oh, please continue. No, please continue.
Well, I was just going to say, okay, so he wants to buy an election, and he's a pretty conservative guy. I mean, he opposes again, this has got to come on. He opposes raising the minimum wage. He's against unions altogether. He's against raising taxes on billionaires. I mean, he's a Republican. He's what I grew up knowing as a Republican, someone who likes corporations and wealthy people, doesn't like poor people, to put it bluntly, not sympathetic to their plight. He's basically moving over to the Democratic Party because Trump has taken the Republican Party so far to the right and got it off the tracks. Well, my feeling about someone like Bloomberg, if he's with $60 billion, if he really wants to do good for this country, he really cares about it, he ought to spend all that money trying to get Trump out of the Republican Party, get the Republican Party back to its John McCain, Mitt Romney stage, when it had some serious problems, but it wasn't, frankly, a quasi-fascist party, which is what Trump's creating, where the rule of law is ignored and where common decency, commitment to factual evidence is basically eliminated. But that's what he could do for good for us. Raise hell for Trump. Make it open space for people to be critical of Trump without having their political careers end, which is what happened. We see this the rank cowardice of virtually the entirety of the Republican Party in Congress. That's what he could do good for us. He might not get elected, probably won't, but he would do a great thing to get the Republican Party to stop going so far to its authoritarian direction. So that would have been good for if he wanted to waste $20 billion or whatever he's planning to spend. But at the same time, he's going to definitely destroy the Democratic Party if he is successful. If he somehow gets the nomination at the convention, it will be the end of the Democratic Party as we know it, because he is someone who has to get it after all these other candidates worked hard. And it looks now like he would get it probably because the party establishment would coalesce behind him as the only alternative to Bernie Sanders, who they fear. And they don't control. So he's his own person. He's got his own movement. He answers to the people, not to the party donors and party establishment. And if they go into a convention and Bloomberg wins a broker convention, that's pretty much the only way he can get the nomination at this stage. He's not going to win it outright with delegates. They're going to have to leapfrog over Bernie Sanders to do it. And if you look at the voting base of Bernie Sanders, and I don't know if you've discussed this in the show, it doesn't get much attention in the news media. But if you look at who's voting for him now and who's voted for him in the past, but especially so far this year, his voting base is overwhelmingly people under the age of 35. Mm-hmm. He absolutely dominates that voting range in the country like no other politician in our lifetimes. Even Obama would have killed for the sort of support Bernie Sanders gets among voters under 30 or 35. He is extraordinarily popular with virtually every ethnic group in this country, Latinos in particular, but also Native Americans, Asian Americans. He's popular with religious minorities. He is a really interesting character. But these are all groups of people who don't actively participate in politics that he's bringing into the game at record numbers. So the Democratic Party jumps over that and hands the nomination to this billionaire who's basically a Republican, who would be laughed off the stage if he wasn't a billionaire. That's going to basically say to the next generation of voters, this party is interested in you. We don't care what you think. We're on the side of money, and that's why this guy's the nominee. And that will destroy the Democratic Party. It would do irreparable damage to it. Instead of ironically being in a position where the Democratic Party can be the dominant party to the next generation, much like when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was elected in 1932 and put into place the New Deal.
Well, it seems like Democrats have been on track for this. I know since I first saw Democratic politics up close and personal in 1984, when they formed the DLC, the Democrats, Reverend called them the Democrats of the leisure class, but it was the Democratic Leadership Council. And they were forming themselves, and this was Bill Clinton, this was Sam Nunn, this was Al Gore, this was Al Fromm, just all the Chuck Robb, all of the right-wing Democrats. They said that if they were not successful in counteracting the effects of the 2.5 million voters brought on by Jesse Jackson and the Rainbow Coalition, they were going to bolt and become Republicans. Dr. McChesney, this is not new. And what I don't understand why the Democrats, I was about to misspeak, or perhaps it was Freudian, why they are so embracing of these Republicans. Corporatist Republicans at that.
You clearly have a knowledge level here that a lot of Americans don't. I was from that era as well. I can precede you by a decade or so. Mm-hmm. But I lived it very well. I worked on Reverend Jackson's campaign in 1988 in Seattle. And I remember that period perfectly. And I think what we're seeing now play out is what's really the result of probably about a 50-year battle for the heart and soul of the Democratic Party, not just the nation. Mm-hmm. And after the McGovern loss in 72 and with the Jackson campaign in the 80s, the more conservative side that said we've got to scale back government programs that assist the poor and the working class, and we've got to ramp up the military, and we've got to be much more pro-business and solicit support from Wall Street like the Republicans get. That branch of the party has been victorious. They dominate the party now. It is the way of the mainstream of the party. And it's being challenged again now, but challenged in a more profound way than Jackson or McGovern ever did, because, it's got basically huge blocks of people who will not be in the Democratic Party if it stays in the corporate route, that it will not interest them. In particular, the young generation across every ethnic group, is just basically ready for major reform. It wants the Democratic Party to go back to being the type of party that Harold Washington represented, that FDR represented. They really thought government could solve problems for people and understood we have very serious problems that need to be solved.
Let me go to some of these callers. I have so many questions to ask you, Dr. McChesney, Dr. Robert McChesney, everybody. We've already put up his article from Common Dreams. If Bloomberg wants to buy an election, he should run as a Republican against Trump, not sabotage the Democrats. Let me go to you, Ted from Bensonville? How you doing, Ted? Good morning.
Having me on, guys. I appreciate it. And, I'm listening to the doctor, and I love it theoretically and idealistically, no doubt about it. But hey, as a lifetime Democrat, I'm looking at the candidates we have, and not to offend them, but they're all fringe candidates. None of them can beat Trump. We need victory now. The ideals and the theories are good for the future, and I hear what the doctor's saying. And even though I'm 61, I'm young at heart like that. But, we got to have a win here. We got to have somebody who comes out of nowhere and wins. All these candidates, sure, they have their sectors. They talk to the people that they resonate with, but they're all fringe, and none of them are going to be able to take this election in the fall, and we all know that. That's why we're all starting to talk about Bloomberg now. And I know you guys have a problem with the stop and frisk. That's number one. But whatever it is, we got to put a winner there. We got to put a potential winner there in November. Don't you agree with that?
No, but I hear you. I certainly do want the Democratic nominee to win, but I'm not prepared to just take any Democrat you ram down my throat. I'm just not willing to do that. And I have to tell you, as an African American whose family endured slavery, we've endured a lot. So President Trump really does not frighten me. I think what he is doing is not good for the country. That having been said, no, I think I'd stop and frisk. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, who was on just a few minutes ago, Dr. Robert McChesney, she's the president-elect of the National Bar Association, which is the largest and oldest black bar association in the world. More than 65,000 black lawyers she will be representing come this summer. She calls stop and frisk, stop, frisk, beat, and kill. Stop, frisk, beat, and kill. That's an issue for me, Ted and Dr. McChesney. Redlining, blaming the collapse of the economy on black and brown people, that's an issue for me. Someone who would change the New York City Constitution so that he could serve an extra term, while President Trump is talking about doing the same thing. These autocratic tendencies of these oligarchs, it's problematic. I've got a minute, Dr. McChesney. Why don't you respond to Ted?
Well, I think Ted's raising absolutely the only reason Bloomberg's being taken seriously. No one's defending his atrocious record. He's not really even a Democrat, even by Democratic standards. He's a billionaire, period. He can buy the election. That's his advantage. That's why people are resorting to him. But the assumption that none of the other Democrats can win is borne out by the evidence. I don't know what that's based on. I study this for a living. I live this. I crunch the numbers all the time. Trump is by no means a shoo-in to beat any of the other candidates. And in particular, the case is made that Sanders is incapable of winning a national election because he's so far out to the left. And I think the evidence doesn't support that at all. Right now, and I've written an essay on this, it's coming out in Jacobin online tomorrow, where I go through the case for Democrats in general, but specifically that Sanders is uniquely poised to do surprisingly well against Trump and defeat him handily. So I guess the assumption that you need to run someone so far to the right, they're virtually indistinguishable on many issues from Trump, but they aren't lunatics or sociopaths. It doesn't make sense. For one thing, Santita, I'll just close on your point. In 2016, Trump was able to win Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan because they were able to run information into the black community on stuff about Hillary Clinton that wasn't very flattering with her position on African Americans, and it suppressed the vote just enough to win 3 states. Well, with Bloomberg, they've got 10 times better material, 100 times better. It won't take, they don't have to lie. They just tell the truth about what he actually says, what he's done, his actual attitudes. And you're going to be hard-pressed to find many African Americans excited to get to the polls. Quite the opposite with most of the other Democrats, and I think it's safe to say that Sanders would have record turnout among Democratic constituencies in November if it race with Trump.
Everybody, let's talk about it on the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. We're talking with Dr. Robert McChesney. So blessed to have him today. If Bloomberg wants to buy an election, he writes, he should run as a Republican against Trump. Not sabotage the Democrats. Is he sabotaging the party? Is he moving the party away from where you want it to be? Let's talk about it on the Santita Jackson Show. Back in just a minute. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Santita Jackson Show, WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. Morning drive here. Please join me over on the YouTube channel on the Santita Jackson Show, where you can like and subscribe, and you can also meet us over on Facebook on the Santita Jackson and Friends page, where you can like and share. Like and share. We're having a great conversation with Professor Dr. Robert McChesney. I'm so glad to have him today. Uh, he is, of course, partnered with one of our dearest friends, someone I've known since we were kids working on the Jackson campaign. That's right, John Nichols, one of your dear, dear friends. We love him. And you've got to get the book, Dollarocracy: How the Money and Media Election Complex is Destroying America. It's out on Nation Books. Everyone, if Bloomberg wants to buy an election, he should run as a Republican against Trump, not sabotage the Democrats. You write, this is not such a crazy idea. You write, for starters, Bloomberg is a Republican, or at least he was until the Tea Party, and then Trump showed up. He fits the profile of the sort of traditional Republican most Americans have been familiar with for generations. He is pro-business, pro-empire, anti-labor, and not especially sympathetic to the concerns of minorities or the dispossessed. These old school Republicans were committed to the rule of law, however, and to majority rule. Why is it that he would, I think it would be a capital idea for him to reform his party, Dr. McChesney, instead of moving my party to the right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about a victory of Bloomberg, like Ted just called, said, we're just desperate. We have to win. We have to get rid of Trump. We just have to take the guy who's got the best chance. And Bloomberg in the polls does not do any better than any other Democrat. Again, Sanders does far better in head-to-head against Trump than Bloomberg in the latest polls. So there's no empirical evidence. But people just assume because he's so rich and he's so conservative that he'll get every Democratic voter, plus a bunch of Republicans will come to him too. But there's no evidence for that. There's no evidence that he's going to be able to get those sort of voters. And so think of all we'll be left with, Santita, in November. If our choice is a guy, Trump, who really is an authoritarian, to be blunt, neo-fascist, who holds the rule of law in contempt, now running a unified, cowardly Republican Party that has no backbone or spine except for that guy in Utah. And then you've got a Democratic Party, which has turned the nomination over to a guy who supported every major Republican policy in the last 20 years and been at the convention endorsing George W. Bush after his terrible war, which he still supports. That's our choice. When you have the vast majority of Americans are not interested in either of those guys, either of those issues, they have no one representing them. What does that mean? It means we're in a nightmare scenario. And yeah, Bloomberg probably be better than Trump. I wouldn't necessarily argue that, but boy, if that's what we're down to, we're no longer a democracy. I don't know what we are, but let's start finding an accurate term in the English language.
Now, these are my choices. Bubblegum made of glass? Really? I don't know. Let me go to James from River Grove. James, what's on your mind?
Good morning, Santita. How are you?
Good morning, James. Talk to me.
I'm really appalled that the Democratic Party would allow Bloomberg to even run as a Democrat. I mean, I understand they need money. I know Trump has a lot. He's got a big war chest. But I mean, to me, it's akin to asking your downstairs neighbor for a loan because you know he's a drug dealer in order to pay your rent. It's just a bad idea, and it's not going to go. It's not going to go well. The thing that really scares me is that obviously we're living in this time of money just influencing everything. We have our own oligarchs. We have American oligarchs running everything, and Bloomberg is one of the biggest. And he's obviously got a huge ego, which is why he changed the Constitution of New York in order to keep himself in office. And I'm really afraid that he's going to be the next Joe Steyer. He's going to end up running as an independent because he's got such a big following because of all this money. And we're going to end up with another 4 years of Trump because of it.
Thank you so much for that, James. Let me go to, is it Ronald? Yes, Ronald, how you doing?
Good morning, Santita. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Mr. Ronald. What's on your mind?
A couple of things. In my opinion, we should get behind Bloomberg. He should be. The stop and frisk thing is bad enough, but just the money in politics is even worse. I can remember when Barack Obama did one of his inaugural addresses, stopped in front of the judges and told Roberts Your decision for President of the United States run our elections forever. He couldn't have been more right. And because of the money, and the money that Bloomberg has, and put it in our politics, it's making it terrible. It's not healthy.
Mm. Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald. Let me go to Robert from Wisconsin. Robert from Wisconsin, how you doing? Great hearing your voice.
Yeah, Bloomberg is going to be problematic, and he's right of Donald Trump on, the war on Iraq and some of these endless wars. You look at his record, stop and frisk, he did inherit that from Rudy Giuliani, but there were about 100,000 incidents a year when he took over. At its peak, when Bloomberg was in charge, it was 700,000. Clearly violating constitutional rights. Not only did he do that against, black and Latino men, he also monitored the Muslim community illegally. And then you add on top of that, the man has something like, I think it's 40 sexual harassment and discrimination lawsuits against him by 64 different women. It just blows my mind that they think this guy is the candidate. Where's the contrast between him and Donald Trump? I don't know if the guy is racist or if he's a fascist, but there's definitely a pattern of behavior there. He told one of his employees when she was pregnant to just get rid of her child. He's a troubling person to me in terms of being the Democratic nominee.
Well, do you think that he has a better chance of beating Trump than Bernie Sanders?
No, I absolutely do not. I don't think the young people will come out. I don't think the independents will come out. I don't think the moderate Republicans will come out. Look at the crowds that Bernie draws. He goes to these areas, 12,000, 17,000.
But Robert, hold on. Stay right there. Robert McChesney. Dr. McChesney, look at the crowds that Bernie Sanders is drawing. The people that he's pulling out, the excitement. I just think that we are listening to the mainstream media and we're just following behind them. Well, they said that Bernie can't win, so Bernie can't win. I'm like, well, would you please give me the evidence? Because none of these candidates are exciting anybody. Now, I think no, I will say this. Elizabeth Warren generates some excitement, particularly amongst women. No question about that. We like her a lot. But if you want to talk about the young people who are being pushed to vote, people who are getting excited about some real change in this country, it's not Mike Bloomberg. Dr. McChesney.
I agree completely, and I think Robert is really knowledgeable, and Ronald and Ted, I think, all are on the same page. And this is an incomprehensibly stupid move for the Democratic Party to nominate someone like that. And I'll just add to what you said, Santita. I'm a professor at the University of Illinois, and I live a lot of the time in Madison, Wisconsin, another college town, which is a very political place. Politics is the religion here. And in 2016, we nominated Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton, compared to Bloomberg, is, a populist. I mean, she's a Democrat. Every way you slice it, no one would say she's a Republican. She fits into the Democratic Party. And the lack of enthusiasm for her in that campaign in the Midwest, and I suspect it wasn't too different in Chicago, but certainly in Champaign and certainly in Madison, was palpable. You wouldn't even know there was a presidential race. In the springtime, when Bernie was running against her for the nomination, everyone was fired up. I mean, it was all you could do but to talk about it. And those were students going out and leafleting and canvassing and sleeping on floors to work as volunteers for the campaign. And that sort of energy, millions of people who basically regard the election as the most important one of their lifetime, is what Bernie Sanders has to offer that no other candidate has. People who don't want to be paid for it, who don't have to be paid off, who just believe that this is necessary for the future of the country. And that will be lost. Bloomberg will get none of that. He'll have to pay his volunteers and pay them pretty well probably to do any work for him. And we saw in 2016, if you can't have a volunteer base that's really passionate about you, like Obama had, you're not winning much. You're going to lose to big money. And Bloomberg is just going to be in a battle of dollars. It's not going to be a battle of people versus dollars. It's just going to be a battle of dollars. And in that case, Trump probably has a more fired up base. Trump probably wins. You circle back, and what Bloomberg's doing in the Democratic Party makes no sense. Most important question I keep going back to If he was Bill de Blasio, if he was a mayor of New York who had no money in the bank, would we take him seriously as a candidate? Now, no. Look what happened to Bill de Blasio. He didn't even make it past the first round. He was out of the race months ago. But Bill de Blasio has every bit as much right to be running for president of the United States as a Democrat, much more, in fact, and be a much better president than Bloomberg. So it's all about the money, and it's an outrage and obscenity that we're dealing with a guy who's so rich that he can literally buy the nomination and maybe buy the White House. And if he does win, what are we left with? A Democratic Party that is in a shambles and has no future, no identity, in a country that's in deep trouble.
Nikki from Des Plaines. Nikki, what's on your mind today?
Well, first of all, your guest is awesome. He's explaining everything perfectly. But yesterday you had Senator Rush on, and I went home last night and I tried to research a little bit about Bloomberg, kind of hoping I could open my heart a little bit to him. And I'm sorry, I don't believe that he has had that great of a change of heart. I just don't think it's possible to make the kind of changes in thinking that I would expect my president to have.
You get no look. I'm right here with you. And you know, when I'm in politics, Nikki, I am not looking for your heart. This is not a date, okay? I'm not trying to date you. This is a destination. This is a whole different deal. I'm talking about resources that need to be distributed to communities that need them. I'm talking about rebuilding America. I mean, the American Society of Civil Engineers gives America a D. We've got bridges that are falling all over the place. We've got a public school system that is being collapsed in every state and territory. We have children who are no longer globally competitive. I mean, really, let's talk about that. Nikki, we're on the same page, and I think we just have to push, but you have to call the media. Let me go back to Dr. Robert McChesney. He is fantastic, and I was so honored that he answered so quickly when I sent out that email yesterday. I mean, you are a media educator, Dr. McChesney. What can we do? I mean, as media consumers, because I don't even think that we see ourselves as consumers of media, that, you know, that the media, they really need us in order to survive. What can we do to push back against a mainstream media that continues to tell us that said candidate will not win?
Well, that's a great question, and I wish I had an easy answer. This is a complex issue, as professors like to say, that doesn't lend itself to a short answer, but I'll avoid a lecture. And, you know, I think right now, in the near term, during this presidential election and this election year, when we're just looking at how we keep our nose above sea level to make it through November, people have to really cultivate alternative sources of information. Fortunately, the conventional news media, the pundits on MSNBC and CNN and Fox News have a lot less influence than they used to. So there are people like, you know, Mickey, who went online to find out stuff, or Robert, who called, who clearly has been investigating Bloomberg with sources online. They're going to alternative sources, people doing investigative work on people like Bloomberg and learning that there's a lot more there than just some guy who's going to save the country from Trump. And so you have people, there's a little more burden on people to get online, listen to shows like this, get alternatives to what you're going to get presented to you, the universe seen on the conventional mainstream media. And one of the questions you have to ask is, what, you know, why are the conventional mainstream media, why are they so in love with Bloomberg, to be blunt? Why are they so charitable towards him? Why are they cutting him slack that no other candidate gets? And it's hard to avoid the fact that he's making all the major media companies vastly wealthier by spending hundreds of millions of dollars on TV political ads, these advertisements. And that puts a big smile on all the executive faces at all the companies that own AT&T, CNN, Fox News. They all love Michael Bloomberg. He's making their companies vastly more profitable than they would have been otherwise. And so that's a good way for someone like Michael Bloomberg to get good coverage. That's sort of a subtext. He's a popular guy in the front office. And then the other side of the coin of Michael Bloomberg is he's got so much money. He's got super PACs that fund candidates. He's got foundations that funnel money to politicians and to advisors. And he's hiring every free Democratic administrator, person he can get his hands on to work on his campaign, he's basically buying people off. There's no other way to put it in English language. Across the board. And you put those things together, and it means the establishment in this country is really happy with this guy because they're all getting something out of it. But the people of the country aren't going to get anything.
Let me go to Lisa from Chicago. Lisa, what's on your mind? You say Bloomberg should win?
Okay, so first of all, I wanted to say hi to the most awesome radio host out there before I get in my tirade.
Oh, Lisa, I love you, girlie. You are so sweet. Most Miss Awesomeness.
Okay, so I may be a minority in my thinking, but I'm going to just put it out there. When you guys say that others are not bringing excitement, therefore this person should win, or therefore what's his name should win, Bernie Sanders, I don't really care about excitement. I just want to remove a cancer, a malignant cancer that has metastasized that will hurt our existential threat. So at Bloomberg, I will tell you this. Bloomberg's money that you guys are talking about, he's punching back like no other Dem has done since they've been running in this race. They've been soft. They haven't been able to actually punch back hard. At least his commercials are, bringing out some of the bad things that Trump has said, all the many lies he's made. The media will only give you so much, but it's not their job to do that. And if a billionaire who's actually bringing out all the impurities, just the bad things that Trump will continue to do, whether he's the kingmaker of the Department of Justice, he's going to put, as soon as the Supreme Court Justice lady, unfortunately, she's ill, when she dies and he's still in office, then you're going to have more conservative judges. So I don't care about the excitement factor. I just want this guy removed. I just want him removed. And at least with Bloomberg, I'm not, on his campaign or anything, but regardless of what he has said, which a lot of politicians have said things really bad towards black people, right? At least he has turned around and supported candidates who were running against the NRA with the gun laws. He has poured millions of dollars into minority business.
But Lisa, hold on. Lisa, hold on. My sister. I don't care what color you are. You're my sister here. I want you to know that what he said is not, that's problematic. It's what he's done. He does have a record as mayor of New York City. And to be honest with you, I haven't chosen a candidate yet, but I am disturbed by someone who has autocratic tendencies. We already have that in office right now. And I am just not willing to, my politics are not anybody but Trump. I believe the system has cancer. I mean, the president is a symptom of a deeper problem, a deeper malady ailing the system. We have been moving toward an imperial presidency for decades. And if we don't understand what we're looking at, Lisa, we're just going to trade out a milder, a sweeter, gentler Trump, if you will. Really.
With that,
okay. I mean, I lived with him in New York, and so that's. I'm just telling you what I've seen. But you can disagree with me. I mean, because you couldn't see something else.
You're out. Didn't have to 3 strikes you're out, and hurt a lot of black.
And and sadly, black people agreed with them. And but Lisa, black people, sadly, because they liked President Clinton so much, and they were so into liking him that they did not look at policy. Black leadership who said, Reverend Jackson was about the only one of the few mainstream leaders who said 3 strikes you're out is not good. It's not good. We said we want it because we like Clinton. We trust him, even though he killed a guy, Ricky Ray Rector, to make a point to conservative whites when he was struggling in the primary season in 1992. You remember that, Dr. McChesney? I mean, Lisa, stay right here because I want you and Dr. McChesney to interact.
Okay.
Mind you, I only have a couple of minutes left here, but Dr. McChesney, why don't you speak to Lisa?
I'd be glad to. I understand your position. I know lots of people who share that position, and the frustration that you want badly to get rid of, I think, unquestionably the most dangerous world leader on the stage today because of the power he commands, and he has to go. And therefore, you're willing to basically take whatever you can get. And here's a guy with a fortune who can run really good ads that sort of gloss over his actual record. and change it and distort it. And it seems like he's got the money to fight a nuclear war with Trump and win, and therefore we get him out of the White House. The problem with that theory is you still got to get votes, and I think that Bloomberg's record is such that he will alienate a lot of the Democratic voting base. Now, some of them will vote, like you, like me, like Santita, I suspect, who are really into it.
No, I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote. Don't worry, Dr. McChesney. I'm going to vote.
I'm going to vote, and I'm going to vote too. But in 2016, we had a mild version of that with Hillary, where she didn't inspire a lot of the base, but they said she was the safe candidate because she checked all the boxes for getting the constituencies. And she lost entirely because she hadn't fired up her own base with a vision of what to do. She was just not Trump. And Bloomberg isn't going to fire anyone up with his vision, no matter how great his ads are, because his record speaks for itself. To the point that people who are familiar with his record just can't even believe he's being taken seriously.
Well, let me jump in. So Bloomberg is going to get some of the conservative votes, and he's going to get Republicans who absolutely have great disdain for Trump. So he's going to get some of those segments, okay? That's for one. Sanders is not going to be able to, unfortunately, bring over Hillary Clinton's millions of voters because he's in many ways the same as Donald Trump's rabid fan base, where they go too far to the left. I've heard people
the data doesn't support that, Lisa. The polling data doesn't support that point. The empirical evidence right now that we have does not support the idea that Sanders would do poorly against Trump or that he would not get voters other Democrats would. In fact, it shows him doing as well or better than any other Democrat in head-to-head with Trump, as it did in 2016. Mm-hmm. His voting base isn't just people in Berkeley and coffee shops where you don't draw 15,000 in Oklahoma City to rallies. His voting base.
I get it, but when you have Rashida, her title, she's a congresswoman or a senator. You have her and her liberal base booing Hillary Clinton on the stage coming up supporting Bernie Sanders, booing Hillary Clinton, who had 3 million votes alone more than Trump. I mean, I just don't understand. I do think there is a major split in the Democratic Party. And I'm sorry, Bernie Sanders may excite us, but he's not going to win. He's just not.
But the solution isn't to bring in a Republican, is it? Is the conservative wing of the Democratic Party, or the main establishment wing, so lost its bearings that it has to resort to a billionaire Republican to hold off the voters of the party?
Unfortunately, I do listen to a lot of conservative radio.
That's clear. But Lisa, no, Lisa. Only reason I'm having to stop you right here is because I'm going to have to get out in 30 seconds. Can you stay with me just a little, Dr. McChesney, can you stay with me a little while longer, just for about 5 more minutes? Oh, okay. Oh, but you know what? God bless you. I'm going to get you back, Dr. Robert McChesney, University of Illinois at Champaign-Urbana, or Urbana-Champaign. We have posted your essay, and we're posting links to your books on our page. And Lisa, stay with me, because we're going to be on the after show for a hot second, okay? And I want us to continue to talk, okay? Just, for a few minutes. I love you, everybody. Dr. Robert McChesney, you are a genius. I cannot wait to have you back on the Santita Jackson Show. You honored us today. Stay right here, everybody, on the Santita Jackson and Friends page, and on Facebook Live, on Santita Jackson and Friends, and on YouTube, the Santita Jackson Show. Let's talk for a few minutes. Lisa, everybody else, so we can, kind of hammer this out on the Santita Jackson Show. Back in just a minute. Oh, hold on, everybody. I'm sorry. Just give me one hot second. Girls, I started looking for my earrings that I had taken off. Now, you know that was more important than anything that could have been said. I love you. Oh, yes. Santita, right here. How are you? Dr. Laura, we've been talking with Lisa and everybody else here, but it's going to be the two of us for a few minutes before we get out of here today. I'm so glad that you all came back. Thank you. And Lisa, thank you for holding, because I know that everybody's busy today. But I did want you to be able to complete your thoughts.
Would have a higher margin of beating Trump, and Sanders is within the margin of error. So we keep running a purity test on whether or not others are more credible, and I just think we're playing checkers on the national level when someone is playing chess, and we're going to lose.
But you know what? You know what I think? I have to tell you, the problem that I have is that we vote our fears and not our hopes. A lot of people, I mean, and we're far, the narrative and our thinking is shaped by a very powerful mainstream media. And I think we've got to be very careful, because they have their own interests. They have their own masters that they are saving, to whom they are obedient. I mean, let's go back. Okay, you remember when Phil Donahue went back on television on MSNBC in the early aughts, like 2002, 2003, when they were really trying to push in MSNBC and make it a real viable network? You remember that? You know what happened? You know, he ended up having their number one show. And more, and I mean, they were beginning to build an audience exponentially, because he was anti the Iraq invasion, and he was very, very forward with it, and he had a lot of guests who put forth brilliant articles, pro and con, but it was very clear that Phil Donahue, who is a real progressive, was very supportive of America not going in to invade Iraq. And he was dropped from that network. And why was he dropped from that network? Because MSNBC is owned by General Electric, which is one of the biggest military industrial contractors on earth. They didn't care that he had the top ratings, Lisa and Dr. Laura. He was, of course, of course you can talk. I was just trying to give you that example. That's why I'm saying, even with the, and when, I have to say, when Reverend Jackson was running for president, the media, he was running also against the media, because they were telling you all the reasons he was going to lose. And he kept winning, you know? And I'm saying we have to be very careful. I think we need to learn from history, okay? Because if we don't learn from history, I mean, because these people are telling us we don't need Medicare for all, when private insurance is driving the bankruptcies in the United States of America. They're not even talking about, they're trying to push candidates who tell us that things are not as bad as they are. And I just, you know, and for me, Lisa, that's problematic. You know, and I don't want us to buy into that. I think that we need to win. And we have to push up against the media and say, you know what? You used to be journalists, and now you're media.
It's not going to happen. It took President Obama, you know how long that took for him, and the pain and the aggravation and the polarization, and it's traumatic. It took us, 60 years to get a new health care program. So to come in now with another Medicare for all, when you know that the other side is not going to let that happen, why not build on a health care plan that's already in existence and tweak it, like the Social Security plan? He wants.
Okay, hold on. Time out. I'm a physician, and I know.
Okay. Dr. Laura?
Yeah, hello. Yeah.
Okay, I want Lisa to finish her thought, and then you jump in. Lisa, why don't you finish your thought?
Well, I'll just say this. The Medicare for all is not going to work in this political cycle. It's not going to work. Why not just build on the current one that took many, many decades to put in, and tweak it? I don't understand coming in with a whole new health care program.
No, but we can. But Medicare for all would be an advancement on what we had. You do know the insurance industry wrote ACA, right? You do know that. Okay, no, I'm just saying that it was documented that the insurance industry went into the White House and they wrote that program. So this is not even what it is that I mean. It kicked the can down the road, but we got to get down, honey. We got to get to the shore. Dr. Laura, you're a physician.
Yes, I am. I'm a family physician. And the insurance companies are so deep into our medical care. They tell us what we can and cannot do, what we can prescribe, what we cannot prescribe. It's ridiculous. If people knew how hard the doctors had to fight for every little thing that they got, they wouldn't even, they would quit their insurance right away. It is ridiculous. So we have to, the insurance company will not go away completely. There's going to be secondary insurances for boutique doctors, for boutique hospitals. We're not going to be able to stop that. That's fine. It's just what the rest of us, what the majority of us will be able to access. And right now, 40 million people on Obamacare they cannot either get the insurance because they're self-employed or they're in one of the other holes in Obamacare, or they have the insurance but they can't afford it because they have high deductibles and they have high copays. It's ridiculous. We must go forward. We can't say to 40 million Americans, oh, sorry, not happening. And so to do that, you need somebody who's going to fight strong for it. And I don't know what polls you're looking at. If you go to Real Clear Politics, you can see there's been hundreds of polls. And Bernie Sanders beats Trump by 10 points in some of them. They're all, there's a lot of polls.
Wall Street Journal, they just released it this morning. He has been within the margin of error. All I'm saying is
I go on Real Clear Politics and look at all the polls. Look at all the polls.
Well, let me jump in here. Both of you, let me jump in here. One thing I think, whenever we look at these polls, we have to look at the people who are doing the polling. Wall Street Journal does skew right, Lisa. It does, and it absolutely does, and they protect corporate interests. And and we have to be very, very careful of that. Now, Real Clear Politics tends to be more nonpartisan, but I listen. I read polls that skew right, Rasmussen, and I read those that skew left, and I also go down people who go straight down the middle, Pew, because I want to talk to. Because after I finish talking to people, I want to talk to you about not just what I want to hear what you really, 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 really think, Lisa, and I've of course. I'm not. Let me tell you something. I'm not here today, but Lisa, I'm not here today to make it. Oh well, okay. No. But let me say. But let me say this as you all continue. Dr. Laura, hold on one moment. Let me just say this, because I want cooler heads to prevail here. I'm not here to make it. I'm not here to make an argument for any candidate, really. And if I had chosen a candidate, I would tell you that because I'd feel an obligation to do that. But even when I do choose one, I am not going to hurt anybody. I want everybody to have. Oh, okay, I got you. But I just want you to say. Let me hold on, Lisa and Dr. Laura. Hold on. No, I'm going to bring you in. But remember, I'm the moderator here. And I have to establish some rules. And I'm not just going to let you talk. The airwaves are free. They belong to you, but I'm the steward here, okay? So what I'm trying to let you understand is where I'm going to be as we move through this political season. And I think that it's important for me to fully disclose that to you so that we can function with a good understanding, okay? And I don't want you all to shout at each other. Get excited. But I don't want anyone to walk away with burnt feelings, okay? Is that fair?
I have to correct the lies.
No, well, the untruths or the misunderstandings. Okay, Dr. Laura, you go.
Untruths or misunderstandings. So he was the amendment king in Congress for 10 years, where he got more bipartisan amendments passed than anybody else. So he has done a lot. You have to look at his record. You can't listen to what the mainstream is telling you because, of course, they don't want Bernie Sanders. He's going to bring in the antitrust laws and break up some of these big monopolies. The corporations, you have to really worry about what the corporations are putting into your mind. I mean, seriously, you have to be very, very, you have to digest your news like you digest your food and be very careful about what you put in your head. So, so I am absolutely for Bernie. There's no question about it. There's no other candidate that is as dedicated and has been working constantly for the American people as Bernie has for 3 decades, just constantly trying to beat back the military-industrial complex, trying to beat back the corporations and their control on our lives, like their control of our health care. And there's just no question about who is the most dedicated candidate for the people of America right now. And so the reason why I called was because I totally agree with you about Bloomberg, and that is he is an autocrat, and he is a racist. We're having a protest today up at his Edgewater campaign office because, he bought his way onto the DNC stage, and other candidates of color had to abide by the rules. They're all gone, but, Bloomberg, bought his way onto the stage. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous corruption. And his stop and frisk was over the top, racist. He knew it for years. He knew it was unconstitutional. He fought the ACLU in court for years and years and years. It was ridiculous. It affected 5 million people. And what I want to tell Lisa is, Lisa, don't be so sure that people are going to come out and vote for Bloomberg. You say vote no matter who, vote blue no matter who. But I'm telling you, that's not some kind of law out here. Like, I would not come out for Bloomberg. I'm not voting for Bloomberg.
So then you're going to keep Trump in there. So here's my thing. We're doing the torture.
But they're virtually the same person, Lisa. Lisa, I mean, they're virtually, Lisa, but they're virtually, Lisa, let's talk with each other, okay? I understand the emotions here. Trust me, I get them. But we got to talk with each other. When you dig down on Bloomberg, he and Trump are very, 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 very much alike. And I would only caution you to, it's not just blue no matter who. No, I wouldn't say that, because you used to have the Dixiecrats who used to lynch people. So I'm just saying we've got to be very, very careful. You have to be very, very. The universe hears you when you tell the universe what you want. We have to be very, very specific about what it is, not just what we want and not who we want, what we want. We have to talk about what we need. And just getting Trump out of the White House, I don't think those are good politics, Lisa. I really don't.
Let's say Bloomberg emerges for whatever reason, okay? So if it's between Bloomberg and Trump, both of you guys would not support Bloomberg. You would allow Trump to stay in there. Is that what I'm hearing?
What? I'm telling you that people are not going to come out. In 2016, it was Hillary versus Trump, and both of them were extremely disliked, and people stayed home.
And Hillary still won. We need to stop telling that falsehood. That woman won by 3 million votes. She did not lose, and the Democrats would not count 70+ thousand votes in Michigan. The Democrats helped her to lose. And it's a shame and a sham that they continue to make that woman a loser. That is not true. And so when you tell me, and I'm going to tell you something, Lisa, as someone who lived through stop and frisk, as someone who has nephews who are black, brothers who are black, friends who are godchildren who are black, stop and frisk, beat and kill is a deadly policy that he only apologized for when it was politically convenient in December of last year. Shame on him for that. Now, that having been said, I have an insult level. I do have an insult level. And I'm not so afraid of Trump as an African American whose family survived slavery, whose family endured rape, which is why I am here. You cannot frighten me with anybody. The worst that America and the world has had to offer, African Americans absolutely endured and survived on this soil. I'm over that. I'm talking about getting what I need. I'm talking about someone who is buying an election. I think that is not good politics. It's not good for the Republic, not the Republicans, not the Democrats. It's not good for the Republic, and it's not good for the democracy. It's not good. But when I look at his policies, and for him to leapfrog over people who've been running on the strength of a commercial, really, he has gotten a lot of black people on a commercial because he's prominently featuring President Obama, who has not said to him, pull me off the commercial. I don't understand that. So he's getting a lot of passive support. And no, he doesn't have to mention him. He has him in a commercial that is on prime time every night. But I'm okay, okay. And I think that I think that his work on gun laws has been laudable. That's good. And I think that as people look at him, they should, if they are so inclined, they can look at the whole record. But for me, there are some non-starters for me. I'm just saying, for me, when I think of stop and frisk, when I think of all of these black and brown boys, there was at one point in New York, there were 151,000 black and brown males between 14 and 24. And they had 161,000 stops and frisks. So everybody, and he would not, and wait a minute, and Lisa, he was so unapologetic. And more than that, he not only was he a proponent of the program, you couldn't talk to him about it. I hear you, and you're saying you're looking at other things, right? Well, I wouldn't call you an idiot. I would just say, you're considering other things. I respect that.
Actually don't remember it. In politics, if everything is ephemeral, it's right there in front of you right now. I don't care what happened 20, 30 years ago. I'm just saying most people.
Oh no, that's not the truth. That's not the truth.
You know, it is because when Kamala Harris brought up that whole busing, everybody kept saying to Vice President Biden, hey, that happened 25, 30 years ago. Let's deal with what's going on right now, keeping people issues. And all I'm saying is this. I'm just saying Bernie Sanders because he's the front runner. If it's somebody else, I would be bringing their name up. But he can't talk against the economy, Bernie Sanders, because he doesn't really align himself with President Obama. So how does he explain away the economy that's been doing very well for the 11 years in a row? Most people want a great economy. So how can you go against Trump that? I'm just telling you, we will pass the security tax. Again, if he's the front runner, I will go out and stand in the cold, rain, sleet, or snow, and pull the lever for Bernie Sanders, okay? Because I am a vote for no matter who. But I do know that Elizabeth Warren came out and gave numbers on her medical bill, and because of that, her numbers have gone down in the polls. So the interest of her has waned significantly. That's not right. That's not right. No, that is true. That is true. Because she was doing very well. But it's not why she went down. It's not why she went down. Okay? Sorry. It's not why she went down. She's saying the same thing. She hasn't changed, and yet her numbers have gone down. He's a 78-year-old man who's had a heart attack. Why has a small heart attack? Small. Okay, small. That didn't happen either. Okay, I have to get off the phone, but I want to say something here.
Okay, well, hold on, everybody. But wait. Dr. Laura and Lisa and Tim, I understand that, but I want us to leave in a certain spirit, okay? And because that's part of my job, and that's why I do what I do, and I do it the way that I do it, because I think that all of you, and Tim joined us, and I'll speak with you in a hot second, Tim. I think everybody means well, and I think that we all can agree that we want what's best for our country and our world and for each other. And I think that's a great thing. And I want us to continue to have these conversations. No, we're going to. And we're going to, but we're not going to talk over each other, Lisa and Dr. Laura. Okay? So I know Dr. Laura has to leave, and I'm going to let you do that, but you all have to calm down. Dr. Laura, your closing thought?
I have to, yes, exactly. So Bloomberg is a losing vote. The millions of burners. So Bernie has the millions of volunteers. He has the most donors. He's leading in the polls. You are knocking down the front runner. So if you are going to vote blue no matter who, then go with the most popular guy. Bloomberg is a loser. He is going to, the black and brown folks that get wind of stop and frisk are not going to come out and vote for him. All of the young people in the Bernie movement are not going to come out and vote for him because he's buying his way into the Democratic National Convention. He's buying the superdelegates. We don't abide by that. We want money out of politics, not into politics. So vote blue no matter who it's not the law of the land. People don't comply with it. That may be how you vote, but that's not how over 100 million people stayed home in 2016. So if you really want to beat Trump, then go with the most popular guy that has the most energy. Bloomberg is out there buying a lot of people to knock on a bunch of doors. But when you talk to them, they say, yeah, they're getting paid. That's it. I'm sorry, money does not buy you love. It does not buy you love, and sometimes it doesn't buy you people coming out of their doors to go vote.
And Dr. Laura, all I ask is that you listen to Lisa as she makes her closing thoughts, because I want us to be respectful of each other. Okay? Lisa, your closing thought.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much to both of you. And I'm sorry if we overtalked each other, because that you are the host, you're the pilot. So in politics in general, we all know that you have to have money to run. The average person can't run for senator, for congressman, for president. It has never been done with just, I can't run, right? And I make decent money, but I'm not rich. I'm not a millionaire. I don't have political connections. So this whole he's a billionaire, he's paying for politics, to be honest with you, it's been done for so many decades, for so long. You have to have money to run. You just happen to have more money than everyone, right? But put it in context, the average person can't run for the president of the United States. You have to have connections. You have to have money, period. Bloomberg has escalated his popularity in the polls. He went from 0.01. Now he's polling on the same level as Biden. They're now both politically timed 15%. So this whole notion that no one's going to vote for him, people are not going to come out, that's not true. I even went to a Bloomberg rally. It was a standing room full of African Americans. So maybe you should come out and see what the true organic, grassroots energy is, because I think most people of color are getting tired of these same old stale politicians that have been in place for 30, 40, 50 years, and they still see themselves as the downtrodden. They don't have the same kind of economic equity as others. Their home ownership is lower than any other ethnic group. Business ownership is low. The schools are awful. So, yeah, would I vote for Bernie Sanders if he's the nominee? As I said before, I'm voting blue no matter who. But I have been around long enough to see the same old, and I'm sick of it. So if there is a billionaire who is putting money into black-owned businesses, making things better, despite the stupid challenges, not stupid is the wrong word, but the racist policies that he contracted. He didn't create it in New York, but he extended it.
No, Lisa, stop. He expanded it. No, 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 no. He did not create it. He expanded it. And he did it. And no, no, no. Wait, no, Lisa. And what I'm hearing with Bloomberg, because I have a lot of friends not a lot, I have any number of friends who support him. And there's a through line with all of them. They're all part of a privileged black class. Black folks on the ground who call this show, black people who I talk to, and a lot of other people who are not black who I talk to do not support him because stop and frisk was that offensive, because it was stop, frisk, beat, and kill. People who have an opportunity to get businesses, people who have an opportunity to climb up, not get out the bottom, who have an opportunity, who are already above ground and who can climb up a little higher, they support him. I respect that. I just don't support it. I am with the politics of the people who are the least of these people who are at the bottom. Because I do believe that rising tides lift all boats. I believe you don't water leaves, you water roots. And that is not what he is going to do. And I believe, respectfully, that we have got to make some arguments that benefit everybody. I'm not willing to go past his record. I'm not. And I think we need to examine everybody's record. Pete Buttigieg has a real black problem. That's why I've brought several people who have worked with him down through the years in South Bend. I brought them on to talk to what is the problem. Because there's something that they have seen down in South Bend that ain't working for them. And I want to talk about it. Bernie's got some issues. He's had more, he's worked on it over the past 4 years, but he had some issues with black people, and he still does. Everybody's got some issues, and I think we need to look at all of them. Blue, no matter who, no, 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 no. Look, it's just like a man, okay, because I like men, right? You are not just going to say, I just want any man, just God, just give me a man. Oh, no, 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 no. I'm very, 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 very specific. Because I know that God hears me, and he might send me a fool. I don't need that. I'm just breaking it down to where the goats can get it, okay? I don't want just any man. No, 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 no. Because you know what Santita will do? I will sit home and read my book on a Friday night because I'm all good. I'm content within myself. And as a black person who I was raised by my great-grandmother who would have been way past 100 had she lived. She died 23 years ago. And she was so inconsequential as a black woman, there was no birth certificate for her. She's part of that crew. So we guesstimated that she was about 94, 95 when she died. But you know what I learned from her? Be content in all things. That's what the Bible tells you. Count it all joy. You can't cherry pick life. You got to take it all, right? You're not just going to pass anything to me. You're not going to give me a pile of dung and call it fudge. I'm not doing that. No, no, and you're not going to put a candlestick on it and say, oh, here's your birthday cake. No, 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 no. I don't do that. You're not just going to give me any man and say, well, you got a man. No, darling. No, 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 no. I don't believe that. I don't believe in that. No, no, no. I want the right man. I want the right situation. And until the right situation comes, I will wait until my change comes. That's what the old songs of the black church teach me. I'll just wait. I'll wait on the Lord. I'll wait. I'm going to keep voting because you know what? We have the U.S. Senate to get back. Mitch McConnell is sitting on hundreds of past legislation from the U.S. House of Representatives that he will not touch. Shame on him. And he's at a 37% approval rating. The Democrats need to go after the woman who is trying to run against him and get him out. We're sitting up here arguing about personalities and whatnot when we've got a U.S. Senate to get, a U.S. House to fortify, and state legislatures. Between 2009 and 2016, we lost more than 1,000 seats. He could, you know what, and I'm telling you, even beyond him, we can challenge him to do that since he's in the game. Challenge him to do it now because he's got enough money and he's willing to spend it. Okay, then you know what? Run for president. I need you to focus on this too, since you are so inclined to spend your money this way. So I love you all. I'm going to have to let Tim say something very quickly because Tim thinks that women are all autocrats. But he comes in here, just Laura, Dr. Laura, and Lisa. He comes in to get beaten up every day. And so I'm very clear that he is nuts. I love you, Tim. You're going to have, and you got 3 women. You got 2 of my sisters here today. If you don't say something right, you're going to get beaten up. He likes getting beaten up, Dr. Laura and Lisa. Just don't pay attention. Go, Tim. What do you have to say? Because he came in, he hasn't had he hasn't had his daily dose, Lisa, of beat me up today. Go on, come on, Tim. Okay.
With one law. And that's where I want to live, with people that don't agree with me, but obviously are just valuable in way, shape, and form. So I think that when you look at Bloomberg, you're looking at somebody who is totally different. I've never seen anything like this, where somebody can run a bunch of ads and become president of the United States on just the power of his money. He has not even gone through anything. Now he's finally going to a debate. So he has missed a lot of primaries. I'm sorry, but the current president did not do that. He went in there slugging it out day one and earned his spot at the top. So I'm just saying that if Democrats...
Honey, nobody's even talking about Trump right now, Tim. Nobody's thinking about him. I'm just don't let him come out of your mouth. Leave him alone. We're not thinking about Trump. Nobody beating up on him. Leave him alone. See what did I tell you? What did I tell you, Lisa? What did you say? Well, I've got to mess with Tim because I love Tim. He just he just wants to get beaten up. Go on, Tim. Come on, get this beating.
Get into UIC members, then we'll be walking the same street at the same time. I'll talk about that later on. But I just wanted to say I think this whole Bloomberg thing is very fascinating, because I don't think it should be, my guy, right or wrong. This is a very strange man. He's running for Messiah. He's not running for president.
Well, and he and Trump have that in common. So just stop, honey. I hear you, Tim. And Tim, you know what? I love you. Tim, I love you. I love you. I knew that would stop him. I love you, Tim. What did you say to me? Thank you. Did you hear what he just said?
The one that Derek Grant has. That was an awesome show. And I hope that...
No, look, everybody's great. All the shows are great. And there's no show that's better. No, look, everybody, might have a show that might resonate with you more closely, but all the shows here are great. Honey, there's room for everybody to win. So let's all win. I love you, Tim. And I love you, Lisa.
Beneficial in terms of my talking to you. You're always a very level head. You're very rational, very passionate, which is great. Like I said before, I'm a conservative. I'm a conservative / maybe independent. I'm not a Republican, and I'm not a Democrat, because I don't think the Democrats have done much for the black community. They take the community for granted, and I just think that for so long we have accepted the unacceptable.
No, but Lisa, let me push back on you about that a little bit, because I knew you were conservative, and that's fine with me. I mean, socially, I'm conservative. I think we're all a mix. That having been said, but what I'm conserving, I don't know what we're doing. That having been said, look, black people are very pragmatic. When Republicans helped us with abolition, we were with them. But somewhere along the way, when we wanted for equality, when we were going for equality, they left us. And then we moved over, like Dr. King's father did, we moved over to the Democratic column. Ain't nobody in love with anybody here. Black people move where the spirits say move. That is to say, where we can get what it is that we need. And the Republicans have written us off. Democrats take us for granted. We are standing here in no man's land, and we have to come up with our own agenda. So even if you're going to be a Republican, girl, go on and be that. But advocate for me when you get in the room. That's all I ask. I want Democrats, when you get in the room, advocate for me. That's all I ask. Because you know what? Jewish people do it. Italians do it. Everybody does it. We have to do, that's all I'm saying. I don't care whoever appeals to you, I don't care. I really don't. I do not. You have the right, you have 24 hours in your day, 365 days in your year. You have a life, you were made by the same God I was. You can do whatever you want to do. But what we need to do is respect each other and have enough good sense to know that you know what, the coronavirus is going to get everybody if we don't have a decent health care plan for everybody. Climate, all of that, girl.
So the current person in there right now has reversed all of that. All I'm saying is, I just want to deal with the actual problem. I don't want to go into a hospital and I'm telling you my arm is broken and you're talking about my toenails, my hair growth, and all of that. I just want you to fix the problem. and he is an existential threat. So all I'm telling you is there's some things that are going to be even more. If you see what's going on right now, you just wait until that whole Supreme Court justice is mostly all conservative. So from a
honey, we said that he is already stacking the courts, Lisa. We said this 4 years ago when Hillary won, and we said it 4 years ago. But I'm telling you, there's something that goes beyond the Democrats and the Republicans. There's a corporatocracy here that uses cultural issues to line people up in the Democratic and Republican column, and we're all losing. We're all losing. So I'm simply saying to you, don't buy into this Democrat, Republican, I'm a conservative, I am a liberal, I'm a progressive. You know what? I know I'm a progressive. I am. But I listen to everybody. And my thing is, I want us all to win. And I know that that's why you have got to push back on the U.S. Senate. You got to vote down ticket. It's not just the presidency that's at stake here. We said this 4 years ago when you had the race 4 years ago. And I don't know why people have to be the rabbit in the water, and then you look up and it's boiling and your meat's falling off your bones. So just think about that, okay, Lisa? And you know what? One of these Mondays, you should come over to 930 East 50th Street so you can fight with us when we're on Facebook Live. Come on. Okay? I'm telling you, you'd have a lot of fun. I love you, girl. I love you, Tim. Tim, what you say to me? Tim? Tim, what you say? What you say, Tim?
I said I love you too, Sam.
Take care.
I love you, Lisa.
Okay, love you too.
Okay. Oh, everybody, it's all love here on the Santita Jackson Show. I love everybody. You know, everybody gets really, really excited. But one of the things that we've got to do as we move into this season, you know, you can be right, and then you can be damned right. The problem with the latter is that you are damned. We can't do that. We've got to respect each other. Got to listen to each other. Got to listen to each other. And we got to know the truth and tell the truth. So for me, Bloom, no matter who, those politics are not going to help us moving forward, I don't think. I told you, honey, when it comes to a man, you know, you need to be very specific. 'Cause otherwise, you'll end up with anybody. You'll get anything. Oh, no matter who. Lord, just send me. No, please don't do that. Oh, God, do not do that to me, because that's not doing anything for me. That would hurt me. So think about that, everybody. You know, I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow. But no, I'll see you tonight. As we look at this debate, it ought to be interesting if they really get into it. We'll see. I love you. See you tonight on Santita Jackson and Friends. Check it out, because we're going to look at this debate. Love you.